the #1 nasty.
Dr. Elaine George is on the advisory council of Project 21 Black Leadership Network and an ear, nose, and throat surgeon. She joins us now by phone. Dr. George, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
What causes these outbreaks, and why is Ebola in Africa to begin with?
That's a very good question. I don't believe that anybody has the answer to it at this point. It showed up very abruptly in 1996 in Congo, and it was felt that it may have been from animal transmission to humans by direct contact. Since that point, it's just shown up sporadically, and this is really the worst outbreak in the history of the Ebola virus epidemic, and since it showed up. And we just don't know why.
But these kind of diseases tend to sort of burn themselves out, don't they? Because, from what I understand, Ebola strikes quickly and kills quickly?
That's correct. It's fast onset with upwards of 90% mortality rate. So by the time it could be spread, people rarely survive it long enough to pass it on to others. That's what's a little bit different about this outbreak. It seems to be spreading. I've never seen or heard of it spreading to this level this quickly. And now we also know that it can be passed by air travel. Then it puts a whole other spin on it.
Do we have the resources, and does Africa have the financial resources to adequately combat Ebola?
I listened to the blurb that you had before I came on, and the answer is probably not without help from the international community, not without help from the World Health Organization. I think this has to be really a concerted effort that's going to really quarantine these folks, test people, because the problem with Ebola is that you can have it and not show the symptoms, and then when you get it, it's almost too late. So it can incubate from 2 days to 3 weeks, and so it's very difficult to pick up quickly.
This is, obviously, it takes an incredible human toll here, but there's a financial impact as well. Do you have any idea of how this impacts the economies of the countries that are dealing with this?
Well, now that the international community is taking note, I think it's going to could potentially have a chilling effect on international travel, on business propositions, on tourism. So I think it can have a effect ripple throughout an African economy because of it.
Yeah, and obviously Africa across the board is certainly picking up in tourism, and you start to hear this, and you look at Nigeria. It's Africa's largest economy. They have a very robust tourism economy, as well as a robust foreign investment in businesses, and at some point this does get chilling.
Definitely. I know that as an American citizen, I'm thinking twice about going to Africa, and I know that there are American doctors and Doctors Without Borders, the healthcare professionals. And so it makes you really think about what could happen if you go there, and if you are a member of the health community, what's the chance of you getting it? We've lost the top 2 doctors that were on the front line of the Ebola fight.
And they couldn't even get out of the country, could they? There was some effort to get them to Europe, I understand, and you don't even want to move them because of how contagious this is.
That's correct.
Is there, obviously, Americans are certainly asking, is there a risk that this can jump to either America or even to Europe? And if so, what can we do to protect ourselves?
Well, the answer is most likely yes. Just knowing that it can go from Liberia into Nigeria by air travel. This is a global economy, global community. Everybody's getting on planes, and if you have cold, flu-like symptoms is what this usually presents as. You don't think twice of someone sneezing next to you. But potentially that could be a problem because it's passed by secretions, by body fluids, and perhaps by sexual transmission. So it's potential to kind of invade, environment without people knowing it. I think the first thing that people need to do is if they're going to an endemic area or they've come from one, maybe they might, if they're not feeling well, they should see their doctor and be tested. That's #1, to protect themselves and their families.
Okay. Dr. Elaine George, thank you so much for your insight today.
My pleasure.
Coming up, the American president